Hi, welcome back. My name is Esther Kim, and today we're going to go over the last set of problems for the Math Calculator section of the May 2021 SAT exam. This includes multiple choice problems, questions 21 through 30, and grid-in problems, questions 31 through 38. Grid-in problems are the ones where you do all the math and then you have to fill out your own answer. So if you don't know already, the multiple choice section and the grid-in section both go from easy to hard. So technically, you could study the problems in order, or you can study them by categories. We have percentage problems. We definitely have an exponential problem and quadratic/parabola problems. We also have word problems. There are also a couple problems I recommend, especially question 37, because this one's confusing for a lot of students. I'm also going to go over common mistakes just to help you become a better test taker. So let's get started. Question 21 is a geometry problem. We have a right-angled triangle right here, and it says, which of the following additional measurements to the triangle provides enough information to determine the length of AB? Length AB is right here. Let's go ahead and also label it as X. So your first option says the length of AC. AC is right here. Again, the question is asking, if you knew the length of AC, can you solve for X? So in this case, let's give AC a number and say that it's like, say, 16. Now you know two sides of the triangle, which means that you can use Pythagorean theorem to solve for X. So option 1 works. Let's go ahead and get rid of any answer choice that doesn't have option 1, which is going to be answers B and D. Option 2 says the measure of angle ABC. Angle ABC is right here. So again, let's go ahead and give it a number and say that this angle right here is equal to, say, 30 degrees. You can use the cosine trig function to solve for X because you can say cosine of 30 degrees is equal to your opposite side, which is going to be side X, over the hypotenuse, which is 25. So option 2 works, which means that we can get rid of answer A, and you're stuck with answer C. Question 22 looks like an inequality problem. It says, the solution to which system of inequalities is represented by the shaded region of the graph. So with system of inequalities, you're usually dealing with an area that's bounded by two lines or a line and a parabola. In this case, we have a horizontal line right here, and we also have this line right here. The key to solving system of inequality problems is to focus line by line. So in this case, let's focus on the horizontal line and get rid of the blue line. A horizontal line has an equation of y equals. In this case, the line is y is equal to 7. The next step is to figure out whether the shaded region is above or below the line. If you notice, the shaded region is below the line. So now we have an inequality of y is less than 7. Since the horizontal line is a solid line instead of a dotted line, you want to include this boundary. So our final inequality is going to be y is less than or equal to 7. Let's go ahead and get rid of any answer choice that doesn't have this inequality. If you notice, answers C and D have an equation that starts with x, which means that it's a vertical line. So let's get rid of C and D. The next step is to figure out the next line, which is right here. But if you notice, answers A and B both have the equation. It's either y is less than or equal to 2x plus 1. So your job is just to figure out whether the shaded region again is above or below the line. In this case, the shaded region is above the line. And again, the line is a solid line. So now we have the inequality of y is greater than or equal to 2x plus 1. And so your answer is B. Question 23 is a statistics problem, and it says the word frequency, which means that most likely you'll have to calculate the median. The problem says, Paulina has 28 books in her collection. The frequency table summarizes the number of pages in each book. If she buys a new book that has 62 pages, how will this impact the mean and median numbers of pages of the books in her collection? The table gives the number of pages, and frequency just means the number of books that have those pages. So let's cross out the word frequency and just put number of books. The problem is asking you to compare the mean and median before and after you added this new book that has 62 pages. Let's go ahead and make a table. Let's start with the mean. You don't actually have to calculate the mean before you added this new book. We just want to see the effect of adding this new book. So what happens when you add one book that has 62 pages? 62 is the largest number in this data set, so it's going to make the mean increase. It's almost as if the mean is being pulled down by this number. So let's go ahead and put an up arrow in the table to indicate that the mean increased. Now we can eliminate answers B and D where it says that the mean decreased. Let's move on to the median. Median means the middle data point once you've ordered your data set from low to high. You can locate the median by dividing the number of books you have by 2. Before you had the new book, we had 28 books. So let's divide 28 by 2 and you get 14. when you have an even number of values in your data set, the median is actually going to be the middle two numbers. So in this case, you have to find the number of pages not only for your 14th book, but also for your 15th book, and then calculate the average between those two pages. How do you find the 14th and 15th book? If you notice, the table already has a number of pages ordered from low to high. So the first book has 46 pages, and then the next two books have 47 pages. If you count the number of books, we've hit the third book at this point right here. You can keep adding the number of books until you can figure out where the 14th and 15th book are. For example, here, if we add another 4 books, we'll hit the 7th book. And then 7 plus another 5 books means that we've hit the 12th book. And then 12 plus another 5 books means that we've hit the 17th book at this point. And you can stop here because the 14th and 15th book will be between the 12th and 17th book, which means that the 14th and 15th book both have 50 pages. The average of the number of pages is 50 because it's the same number, so let's put that in the table. Now we have to find the median after you added this new book that has 62 pages. So now we have 29 books. 29 divided by 2 is 14.5. When you have an odd number of values in your data set, you have to round up to locate the median. In this case, 14.5 rounds up to 15, which means that you have to locate your 15th book. But we already know that the 15th book had 50 pages, so the median doesn't change. And your answer is just C, where it says the mean will increase and the median will remain the same. Question 24 is a percent problem, and it says a recipe requires F cups of flour. Arnold accidentally used 50% more flour than the recipe required. How much flour did Arnold use in terms of F? F is the original amount, so let's just write that down. Let's also convert the 50% into decimal form, which is just going to be 0.5. So since you are increasing, you actually want to include a 1 in front of the 0.5. So we have 1.5 times F, which is just going to be answer D. So why isn't it 0.5F? The problem with this answer right here is that 0.5F means that you're only taking 50% of the original amount when they told you that you were actually increasing. So that's why C doesn't work out. If you chose answer A or B, most likely you forgot to convert the percent into decimal form. Question 25 is a probability problem. It says the table shows the distribution of objects in a collection by shape and color. If a triangle is selected at random, what is the probability that the selected triangle is red? Probability is equal to what you want, which in this case are red triangles, over your total number of possibilities. They told you that you pulled out a triangle, which means that your total number of possibilities is only equal to the total number of triangles. And you can find that number by looking at the first column right here, where 7 plus 5 is equal to 12. So we're going to put 12 on the bottom. The next step is to find the number of red triangles you have, which you can also get from the table, which says that you have 5 right here. So we're going to put 5 on top. So your answer is B. A common mistake is thinking that the total number of possibilities is actually all the objects, meaning someone's going to add up all the rectangles, which is going to be 14, and then add it to the total number of triangles. So 12 plus 14 is 26, and think that the bottom part should be 26, but this is wrong. Question 26 is an exponential problem. You can tell from the answer choices. If you need a review, there's a pretty helpful video on exponentials. Definitely go check it out. Let's go ahead and read the problem. A group of students participated in a study. It was determined that for each hour of experience performing a certain task, the time necessary for each student to complete the task decreased by 5%. Wendy took 30 minutes to complete the task with no experience. Which function models the amount of time t in minutes it will take Wendy to complete the task after X hours of experience? Let's talk about the variables. So we have t, which is the amount of time it takes to complete the task, and we have x, which is hours of experience. Now let's write down the basic equation. So we have t is equal to something in parentheses to the x power. All the answer choices have x in the same location, so you don't have to worry about that. The number in front of the parentheses is always the amount that you started with at time equals 0, or in this case, x equals 0. The problem says that Wendy took 30 minutes to complete the task with no experience. So we're going to put 30 in front of the parentheses and get rid of answer D. Let's talk about the 5%. So this 5% is actually 0.05 in decimal form, and it's a decrease. So inside the parentheses, we're going to put 1 minus 0.05. So your simplified equation should just be t is equal to 30 in parentheses 0.95 to the x power, which is answer C. A common mistake is answer A, which only focuses on the percent decrease rather than the actual amount of time spent. Question 27 is a quadratic equation problem, and it says, an equation for the graph shown is this equation right here, where b is a constant. What is the value of b? So the question is asking you to find what b is, and when they say b is a constant, it just means that b is a number. With quadratic equations, one of the most common concepts that they test you on is whether or not you understand the zeros or the solutions of the equation. So let's go ahead and write down the equation, which is y is equal to x minus 1 times x plus b. So then the zeros are going to be x equals 1 and x equals negative b. If you look at the graph, you can tell that one of the zeros is at x equals 1, which goes with the solution right here. That means that the other zero, which is at x equals negative 3, goes with this solution right here. But negative 3 isn't the answer because you have to plug it back into the equation. So we have negative 3 is equal to negative b, and then the negatives cancel out, so you get 3 is equal to b, so your answer is just A. Question 28 looks like a word problem. Let's go ahead and read it. It says, a school club is paid $315 for recycling C pounds of aluminum cans and P tons of paper. The equation here represents this situation. What is the interpretation of 60p in this context? So first of all, the question is asking you to figure out a very specific term in the equation, which is the 60p. But before we do that, let's go ahead and write down all the information that they gave us. So the first thing that they told us was that the total amount the school was paid was $315 for recycling two things, aluminum cans and paper. The aluminum cans came in a total weight that they labeled as variable C in units of pounds, and the paper came in a total weight that they labeled as variable P in units of tons. Let's also go ahead and rewrite the equation. One thing you can do is to figure out the overall units of the equation. So for example, this 315 corresponds to the $315 that were paid, which means that the units are going to be in dollars, which also means that on the left side, these two terms right here, including the 60p, also have to be in units of dollars because you can't mix and match units when you're adding. They have to be the same. So for example, you can't add pounds to dollars. So again, these are units of dollars plus dollars, which is equal to specifically $315. So based off of that, let's go ahead and eliminate answers A and C because they both say the total weight, which doesn't make any sense because we're dealing with money. Let's go ahead and read answer B. So answer B says the total amount in dollars the club is paid for each ton of paper. So this also doesn't make any sense because remember, P stands for the total weight of the paper. So again, let's go ahead and eliminate answer B. And then answer D says the total amount in dollars the club is paid for P tons of paper recycled. This makes more sense because P already stands for the total weight. This equation right here talks about the overall amount that was being paid to the school. If you chose answer B actually only focuses on the $60 because the $60 is about how much was being paid per ton. Question 22 looks like a quadratic equation problem mainly because of this 2 right here. And it says, what is the sum of the solutions to the given equation? So they're asking you to find the solutions to a quadratic equation. And remember, solutions just means like the zeros of the quadratic equation. And then this 2 right here means you have 2 of the same term. So let's go ahead and spell it out. So basically we have x minus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 81. And then remember to find the zeros or the solutions to the problem. All you have to do is set each term equal to 0. So right here we have x minus 3 is equal to 0, and then x equals 3 will be a 0. And then since we have the same term again, you're going to have the same answer. So we're going to have x is equal to 3 again. And then since the quadratic equation always has 2 solutions, in this case your solutions are 3 and 3. Remember that the question is asking you to find the sum, so 3 plus 3 is equal to 6, so your answer is just B. A common mistake would be to think that the answer is just 3, but luckily they don't give you that option. So we're on question 30, and it looks like a statistics problem because there's a bunch of dot plots, and it says each of the 3 data sets represented by the 3 dot plots has 15 values. The medians of data sets A, B, and C are lowercase a, b, and c respectively. What is the relationship between A, B, and C? So the question is asking you to find and compare all the medians of all the data sets. And remember that to calculate the median, you take the number of data points that you have and you divide it by 2. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to take 15 and divide it by 2, and you're going to get 7.5. 7.5 rounds up to 8, meaning the 8th data point will be your median. Let's go ahead and make a table. Let's start with data set A. So what we're going to do is we're going to count until we get to the 8th data point, and it doesn't matter if you start from the left or right since this is just in the middle. So I'm going to start on the left and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you notice, the 8th data point has a value of 5. So the median is going to be 5. I'm going to put that in the table. And then let's do the same for data set B. So for data set B, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, the value for the median is 5, so I'm going to put that in the table. So at this point, what we have is A is equal to B. Let's go ahead and look at the answer choices to see what we can eliminate. If you notice with all the answer choices, none of them actually say A equals B until you get to answer D. So your answer is just going to be D, and you can stop right here. Technically, you could try to find the median for data set C, but this is the only answer choice that you have left, so you really don't need to. So questions 31 through 38 are called gridding questions, meaning you do all the calculations and then you have to actually write down your own answer. Remember that the questions actually go from easy to hard again, so let's start with question 31. Question 31 says the side length of square ABCD is twice the side length of square EFGH. If the area of square EFGH is 9, what is the area of square ABCD? Let's go ahead and make a drawing. So the question is asking you to find the area of the bigger square, which is this one right here. And then remember with the square, all the sides are the same, so that you can say that the area is actually equal to side squared. Let's go ahead and look at the information that they gave you. So they said that the length of the bigger square is twice the length of the smaller square. Oftentimes it's easier to give a variable to the smaller one. So for example, if we call the length of the smaller square x, we can say that the length of the bigger square is 2x because they told you it was double the size. And then they also gave you the information that the area of the smaller square is equal to 9. So now using the area equation, you can say that 9 is equal to x squared. Go ahead and take the square root of both sides. So now you know that 3 is equal to x, or the side of the smaller square. But this isn't the answer. Remember that they're actually asking you to find the area of the bigger square. Since we know that the length is doubled, we can say 2 times 3 is equal to 6. And that means that each side is equal to 6. And now using the area equation one more time, you can say that the area is equal to 6 squared, which is equal to 36. Okay, so question 32 says the scatter plot shows 11 data points along with the line of best fit for the data. For how many of the data points does the line of best fit predict a y value that is less than the actual y value? Basically, your best fit line or your line of prediction is right here. And the question is basically asking you how many data points are bigger than this line. So that would be these data points right here. And if you count them, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 should be your answer. Question 33 says, in the given equation, c is a constant. The equation has no solution. What is the value of c? So the problem is asking you to find the value of c, and when they say that c is a constant, it just means that it's a number. So one thing to know is that you're dealing with linear lines because the left side and the right side both have the slope-intercept form of a line, which is y is equal to mx plus b. One thing to note is that they say that the equation has no solution. So no solution means you're dealing with parallel lines because parallel lines never cross, so they never share a point. The other thing to remember is that parallel lines have the same slope, and the slope value is denoted by this m right here, which means that on the left side the slope is going to be 1 over 4, and then on the right side the slope is the c value. Since we're dealing with parallel lines, we know the slopes are the same, so we can set them equal to each other and say 1 over 4 is equal to c, and c is what they're looking for, so 1 over 4 is going to be your answer. Question 34 is a percent problem, so if you need a review, definitely go check out the percent video. The problem says, what number is 1% greater than 7,000? So the first step is to convert the 1% into decimal form, which is just 0.01. Since the question is asking you for something greater than 7,000, you should add a 1 to it. So now we have 1.01, and then the next step is to multiply this by 7,000. So now we have 1.01 times 7,000, which is just equal to 7,070, which is your answer. Questions 35 and 36 both refer to this table, and it says percentage of components in a liquid mixture by volume. And you have these 4 components right here, and it reads, a liquid mixture is composed of 4 components, and the table shows the percentage by volume of each component. The volume of each component prior to mixing is the same as the volume of that component in the mixture. This basically just means that you took the 4 chemicals and you dumped all of it into one beaker to make a solution. A procedure can be used to extract the individual components that were combined to form the liquid mixture. When the procedure is applied to extract the components in the mixture, a portion of the volume of the components may be lost. This last part is actually more applicable to question 36. But let's go ahead and read question 35. Question 35 says, if the volume of component B in the liquid mixture is 1 milliliter, what is the total volume in milliliters of that liquid mixture? The problem is asking you to find the total volume of your solution. If you look at your table, you can see that component B is always equal to 25% of the total volume. So this percentage never changes, and you can set up a ratio where you have component B over the total amount. And this is going to equal 25 over 100, which is from your 25%. And now you can set this equal to whatever information that they gave you. Since you're trying to find the total volume, this is going to be your variable x. We're going to put it on the bottom because that's where all the totals are going to be. And then they told you that you had 1 milliliter of component B. So we're going to put 1 millimeter on top. And then now you can actually cross multiply, but before you cross multiply, it's easier if you reduce the 25 over 100 to 1 over 4. So now we have 1 over 4 is equal to 1 milliliter over x, and then you cross multiply to get the x is equal to 4 milliliters, which is your total volume. I'm also going to do this the percent way. So with the percent way, we're still going to use the fact that component B is 25% of the whole volume. So we're going to say 0.25 of what total is equal to 1 milliliter. And from here, you can divide each side by 0.25, and now you have x is equal to 4 milliliters again. If you're comfortable with percentages, you can do it this way, but the ratio way is better if you don't know how to set up the equation. Okay, so let's look at question 36. It says the procedure was applied to a new sample of 9 milliliters of the liquid mixture to extract component C. Due to the loss of volume from the procedure, the extracted volume of component C was only 90% of the original volume of this component. What was the extracted volume of component C in milliliters? So the question is basically saying that you had this solution that you made, and from this big solution, you extracted a small sample from it. And from that small sample, they're asking how much of that is actually component C. So remember that component C from the table says that it only occupies 20% of the total volume. So again, you can set up a ratio like last time. And so we can say basically component C over the total amount is equal to 20 over 100. And then you can set this equal to the ratio of whatever information that they gave you. So in this example, they said that you had 9 milliliters of sample. So that's going to be your total volume. And we're going to put that on the bottom. And then they're asking you to find the volume of component C. So that's going to be variable x on the top. And then like before, it's easier to reduce this 20 over 100. So this is going to be 1 over 5 is equal to x over 9. And now you can cross multiply. So you have 9 is equal to 5x. Divide each side by 5. And then you get 9 over 5 is equal to x. But this isn't your final volume. Remember, they said that you only took 90% of your theoretical. So now we're going to say 9 over 5. Multiply that by 0.90 to get 1.62 milliliters. And this is going to be your answer right here. I'm also going to show you how to do it the percent way. We're still going to use the fact that component C takes 20% of the total volume. But here we actually know that the total volume is 9 milliliters. So you can actually say 20% of 9 milliliters is equal to, well, in this case, it's 1.8 milliliters. But this isn't your total answer. Again, they said that you only take 90% of it. So now you want to actually say 1.8 times 0.90, which is equal to 1.62 milliliters, which is exactly what you got last time. So question 37 comes up from time to time, and sometimes it's kind of confusing. So basically, you have these two functions right here, and it says the functions f and g are defined above where b is a constant. If f times g is equal to this equation, what is the value of b? So they're asking you to find the value of b, which is just a constant, which just means it's a number. So again, we're going to set up an equation where we're going to multiply the functions and have it equal to this right here. Next, we're going to FOIL the left side. So we have x squared times 3x squared, which is just 3x to the 4th. Then we have x squared times negative 9x, which is just negative 9x cubed. Then we're going to multiply the inner two terms. And then we're going to multiply the last two terms. And all of this on the left side is still equal to whatever is on the right side. Since both sides have 3x to the 4th, these will cancel out. And if you notice, you only have one x squared term on the left side. And so this x squared term has to equal whatever x squared term you have on the right side, because remember, these equations are the same. So we can actually set these equal to each other and basically say negative 9bx squared is equal to negative 3x squared. Cancel out the x squareds, also cancel out the negative sign. So now you have 9b is equal to 3. And then solve for b by dividing by 9. So you end up getting b is equal to 3 over 9. You can leave it this way, or you can reduce it to 1 over 3. Either number works. Okay, so we're on the last problem, and you have this rectangular shape right here. And it says the rectangular mirror shown above has width 3 feet and length 5 feet and is surrounded by a mosaic border with a width of x feet. If the area of the mirror with the border is 35 square feet, what is the width of x in feet of the border? So the question is asking you to find x, which is this part right here. but they did give you a couple measurements. They said the inside of the pool has 2 measurements, which is going to be that the width right here is equal to 3 feet, and then the length right here is equal to 5 feet. But the area that they gave you actually encompasses all of it. So it actually encompasses this whole rectangular section right here. So the width of the pool and the border is actually this right here, which is going to be equal to 3 plus 2x because you have 2 of these right here. Similarly for the length, we have 5, but we also have 2 of these widths right here. So we're going to actually write down 5 plus 2x, and all of this is equal to 35. Okay, so technically you could FOIL out the left side, but this is question 38, and you might not have that much time. So if you look at this equation, 35 is like not that complicated of a number, so you can use some basic numbers to test out x. So the first one I want to test out is x is equal to 1. So if x is equal to 1, then this first term right here is going to be just 3 plus 2, so that's just going to be 5. And then the next term is just 7, and that's going to equal 35. And 5 times 7 is equal to 35 right here. So now you know that x equals 1 is actually the answer. And that's it. Thanks for watching.